Welcome back to the NExT Appraisal Tool modules. In this module, we will be discussing question number 9. Was the sample size large enough to achieve the study's purpose? Including, did the authors report a power analysis, data saturation, or participation rates? This type of information is typically found in the methods section of an article. When you are reading a report of a study, you should wonder how the researcher determined the number of participants to enroll. Typically, for a quantitative study, the number needed is decided in advance to avoid having too many participants or too few. There are risks related to the trustworthiness of the data, as well as ethical concerns for either of those situations. The author should tell the reader how they decided the appropriate number for the sample. When the sample is discussed, look for anything related to our power analysis if quantitative, or saturation of the data if qualitative. A power analysis is a mathematical way to decide if a sample will provide solid statistical test results. Data saturation is related to not hearing anything new from the people being interviewed or telling their stories. If the report is a longitudinal study over a period of time, then the participation rates of people staying in the study is important. Here is an example from a published article. Notice in this brief example that the authors explain that the sample sizes were calculated and an 80% power was obtained. An 80% or higher is usually desirable. Sometimes the number isn't always reported, but you are looking for any description of how they determined the size of the sample and if it was appropriate. Authors don't always report this, thus leaving readers to wonder if an adequate amount of participants were included. In forming your appraisal response, decide if the authors provided any clear description of how the sample was determined to be sufficient for the purpose of their study. If you're not able to identify any description or discussion, simply formulate your answer as a no, stating that as a reader, you couldn't clearly identify any discussion that helped you determine if the sample size was appropriate for this study. Congratulations, you have successfully completed this module. You may return to the main menu or continue to other appraisal modules in the NExT EBP course.